So the last talk of the day, John Clippinger, another old friend. So John, for 2 decades, has been at the Harvard Law School and the MIT Media Lab. He has a PhD in both artificial intelligence and linguistics, and he's the founder of 4 companies. So John is interested in decentralized autonomous organizations and authorities. He's currently involved in the design of crypto token protocols for the trusted sharing of data in local economies. You know, we're working with so much data, and we have to solve this problem of privacy and data security.
Again, thank you very much. Well, it's great to be here, and having heard everything that's preceded me, it's interesting to see there's certain themes that are emerging here, and not the least of which is this idea of bottom-up and being able to use data and actually use data to drive a lot of different processes. And so what I'm going to be talking about is a concept of city commons, creating a commons, and the use of blockchain. Quick question, how many people know what the blockchain or know something about the blockchain? Okay, it's pretty. And what about Bitcoin? Okay, we got some on. Well, what I want to talk about is the importance of data. And data is really the blood of sustainables, of really sustaining and vital cities. And we think of data as oil, but it's more like water, and it is an input. It's not a set of observations. It's something that's really a necessary process. And what we have here then is when you have the gig economy, data is what fuels the gig economy. It's the smart cities, maker cities. It's just not collections of observations. This is people, we think of it that way, but it's much more so that. And we cannot have these gig economies as shared economies unless we have data. Data is the essence of it. This is a video of a virtual world. It was done by a Japanese artist. And it illustrates perhaps a dystopic future when you have more data in the virtual world than in the physical world. You have to be able to navigate the virtual world in order to participate in the physical world. When you look at the public spaces, they're going to have overlays, virtual overlays. There's a new layer of life that's coming in that you're going to interact with. It's going to create a new kind of public spaces. So we think of data in an archaic sense, and we just think of it as observation. It's a new medium. It's a new medium in which we're going to live and create new kind of cities. And it's going to be essential for all sectors of the cities. I mean, we think of this, the industrial model of infrastructure is fairly static and fixed. And we think about structural hierarchy as a basic organization. But these things are going to be dynamic. They're going to be data-driven. You're going to allocate seats. You're going to get jobs. All of it's going to be data-driven. But there's a moral hazard in data collection, because you get to know everything about people. It can be the most intimate details. And who's going to accept that responsibility? Right now, people are making lots of money off of it. But we have to come up with a set of principles by which to govern the use of data. Because we have the phone. The phone is the great enabler of this. But is an iPhone, spy phone, my phone? It collects me, it knows me, it's collecting data about me. That data is being monetized, but it's not being verified. It's not something I control, though it's my phone. So this instrument is absolutely critical to how we're going to create a trusted society. And so how do we make sure the data isn't hacked? How do we ensure it's not there's a new surveillance state? Who are the trusted authorities? Our notion of data governance is very archaic. We still think of data in the old sense as something that has to be contained. It's not a new medium. So we have to come up with new notions of authority, because everything is being virtualized. And that's really important, because we're creating a totally artificial data environment where every data element is something that's constructed. Do we know where it came from? Can be validated? Who's in control of it? Who benefits from it? This is what's happening in the virtual world, because we could totally be spoofed and be turned into a very archaic or a dystopic world. So these are some of the classic problems, the issues that you have when you're creating a new data ecology. Issue of identity. Do I control my identity? Data, governance, security, privacy, trust. All these issues are classic problems. They're going to be paramount in creating, quote, the smart city, the vital city, the next generation city. And this is where the blockchain comes in. And I can't do details in blockchain other than say it's a decentralized ledger that everything gets validated. And it's a peer-to-peer network where everything looks at everything else. There's a lot of resiliency and redundancy, and it's cryptographically based, and so there are chains of blocks that are secured. But it can become the basis for a data commons. And this is a vision that we've never been able to have before, where in a sense it's for the benefit of everyone, but it's not controlled by anyone. It's for mutually generated benefit. And that's a new kind of value proposition than we're seeing before. It's really not a private sector, a public sector, it's really an open sector. It's a commons. And what enables this is the ability to give people control over their data. This kind of stuff is now being implemented. And it's actually part of the EU data regulations, but in a sense, I control my own data. It doesn't go to Google. I don't have to get it from Google. I don't have to get it from Amazon. It can be verified in my own container in a cloud. And with that, you have what we call a tokens commons protocol. It's a protocol, and that's what was driving a lot of this new technology, whereby you have tokens of value, tokens of trust. I make certain assertions, and these tokens work in smart contracts. They act at what they call oracles. And they have data, and they allow you to release data and control the flow of it algorithmically. And what becomes important is that not so much when we think of the physical state of a city, but it's how people interact. So you have the Hydra, the speaker's corner on the lower right, you have a meetup, you have the Agora in Greece where you have the great conversations. That's what we want, and that's what a commons can be. A city commons is not just a physical district, it's a way in which people interact. And a key element to that is going to be the data. That's going to create the key medium. So if you want something in an innovation district or you want entrepreneurship, it's really the interactions. It's the human dimension of this that's going to be shaped by the data. And that's why things like the city scope is so important. To collect the data and data that you verify and you know, it's going to be it's going to use to govern that commons and allocate resources in order to maintain certain key values. This is a very different way of thinking of governance of cities. And so you have this notion of moving into a network city where things are adaptive. It's adaptive, it's not a fixed system. It's always dynamically changing and allocating different kinds of resources based upon certain key values that we be caught in, say, the city scope. A different vision of the future. So that cuts across all sectors. So when we talk about this, we want to make the switch. And we're working on creating tokens to facilitate that switch from fossil to sustainable. These all go together, from centralized to decentralized, from static to relational. And you really want to have a generative commons. And there are ways of implementing that technologically, and the blockchain creates a huge role in that. Thank you very much.